guys, Scott here from Outlaw Garage. Today we're catching up with Olly and his wide body 356 Replica. It's a really cool car, so stick around for this one and stick around for the end because we get a very special car turn up right at the end.
Well, so the story goes back to like the 70s. My dad bought an Old English TR4A in 1975. Ooh. And he took my sister home from the hospital in the two back seats, and then 34 odd years later, she drove away from the church in it that you can see.
Okay.
My plan was to do the same thing for my daughter. So when my daughter was born, I was searching for a while and found kind of the rolling chassis in New South Wales. Got it trailered down, bought it on sight unseen, but it wasn't much money at all. So I kind of took the risk, and then really over the last 9 years have replaced everything on it other than kind of the chassis and new engine rebuild and so on. And hopefully, when she finds the right person, she'll be able to drive away from the church or registry office or wherever she chooses to tie the knot, and she'll get to drive away from the church in it as well. That's the reason I did it.
That's a great reason to do anything like that, isn't it?
And plus, it meant that I could get it past the wife, and I've always loved. I'll age myself.
String a story, cast a story out, and then all of a sudden, oh, it's for the daughter. I'm out in it every day, driving it.
Yeah, I get to just look after it for the following 30 odd years, hopefully. But I always loved the shape. I've always, back in the day when I was watching Top Gun and Kelly McGuinness in hers, and Dylan in 90210, I always loved it, and the kind of history of Porsche and that kind of racing era, and could never afford to get a real one. So this was the next best thing. But it also, the upside of it meant that I'd love to be better mechanically than I am, but it kind of meant that I could play around with it, and I wasn't breaking something that was worth the world. So I've loved it. There we go.
So Type 4.
So Type 4, 2 litre, 44 Webers. It's probably 6-7 years post rebuild. When I first got it rebuilt and put the Porsche fan housing from Sharp built, it's not a Bergman, as we were talking about earlier.
Yep.
It wasn't sealed. The engine bay wasn't sealed, and it would just really overheat, especially on the hot days here in Melbourne. So had a bit of a job trying to seal it off and kind of fabricating certain bits, and then fitted the oil cooler on it, and now it's great. Even on the hot days, can switch on the cooler, and she'll run pretty well.
And you said you got a thermo fan switch on the
just underneath on the dash.
On the dash, so we'll have a look at that in a moment.
Yeah.
What I did like about the cooling fan is on the Gene Berg ones, they're all one part and they come out a little bit. And I think I've said before on our 356 that it's kind of cracked a little bit, but because that's a couple of parts, it looks like probably the stress is dispersed a little bit, and that actually looks really good. So I'm impressed with that. That's a point to note and point to take away. Linkage setup, obviously just a little bit modified to make sure it all kind of works okay. Underneath, she looks lovely and clean. We might try and get on this a lovely polished floor in a moment and have a bit of a look underneath, but she looks like stunning.
Yeah, I'm incredibly lucky, and I've over the last kind of decade, I've just been replacing the rear lights for clear ones and LEDs, and redid the dash. And
so there are LEDs on the back like that. Yeah. And that's another common upgrade that I'm hearing from people, because mine are still the globes on the 356. However, a lot of people have talked about changing them to LEDs just so that driving them here in Melbourne and out and about, people actually can see them.
Yeah, totally. And they were so dull before, but also don't make the mistake I did. Obviously, I try stuff myself, and I often break stuff and have to redo it. But with the LEDs, it was I didn't realise you needed a different relay, and it kept on blowing the relay, and I didn't know. So I was, that was a couple of weeks of pulling my hair out and trying to sort that out. But that, I try and tell myself that's part of the fun of this.
Yeah, that's part of the. Make sure I don't follow. That's part of the experience, isn't it? But that has been definitely a common kind of upgrade, and then people have been talking about on the top of their 356s, on top of the grille, perhaps putting
in a third brake light. Yeah, I thought about doing that, but I feel, or for me personally, the LEDs. I mean, I'm very honest that it's a replica to anyone, so I'm fine with these not looking period and not being, But I felt like the third brake light up there may be a step too far for my tastes.
Yeah, okay.
But I think there are lots of
and the car's not
benefits.
Completely slammed to the ground.
No,
it's got a bit of height so that if you're driving down the road, people should be able to notice that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I do like on the kit, like the moulding around the lights, like it's actually done really well.
Yeah, the company was called Auto Styling International, and I think a German guy called Andrew built about 200 of them in the early 90s. And I think there was about 200 and maybe 50 of them were the wide body version. And then he went back to Germany, and I'm not sure where he went from there. But I've got the original sales booklet from the company. I did when I first bought it, I kind of got in touch with some garages and so on. And he did a really good job, like an honest job, true kind of Aussie style of giving it a go. And I just, it's obviously not as good as the real thing, but it's fine for my purposes.
Yeah, and I think there is a bit of a dip, but like I'd probably be a little bit kinder to it, that it's not a matter of that it's obviously not the real thing, a real speedster. It's its own thing.
Yeah, it is. It's a homage to the
and the bit of a wide body like the wide body 911s, and then the speedster element as well. And I've got to say, like, the build quality on it is really, really good. And especially with black paint, like, if there's anything wrong, you are going to see it on black paint. Like, if somebody had painted it white or a kind of like a matty green kind of colour or something like that, that would have hid everything. Yeah. This, being black, there is no hint that you can hide anything on it. And especially in the light that we're in here, it shows everything on the car, and it's brilliant.
It's funny, I often say to people that don't know much about cars that my two favourite cars growing up were the 356 and then a Cobra. And my next door neighbour growing up back in England had a Cobra and a 930 Turbo. Yeah. And I felt like if the Cobra and a standard 356 had a love child, it would be this.
Yeah. That's a really good point. So the car has a top.
It does, kind of. Yeah. So underneath here, it's just like a roll-up top, but it's like going in a 1980s tent and going out into a bit of a rainstorm.
Yeah, because I was just saying the old tents. You weren't allowed to touch the inside because that broke the seal, and then you get that kind of drip.
It drips down your arm.
Yeah.
So I fabricated some Perspex windows or side curtains to
try and clean up. I did see that. Do they just kind of pop
into these posts here? Yeah. And I tried to bend the Perspex so that it followed the line of this, but I'm no master. So the water, if you're driving and it's raining, the water is literally just coming and smashing you right in the face. So it's enough of a hood to kind of keep the water off generally and out of the car.
Does the hood, does it fit over the lip of here a little bit?
So there's a fiberglass lip, like you say, that runs all the way.
So at least it doesn't kind of... okay.
But you can kind of see that there's a lump there where one hook goes under, and then there as well. But I got all of the bits and pieces from the US at the time when the US dollar and the Aussie dollar a few years ago became parity. Yeah. So got that coming over, but then had to fit it. And I had to hope that the kit that I was buying it for kind of fitted, and that there was a structural point that I could bolt it onto, and with a bit of luck, over in St Kilda, there was a boat builder that I reached out to say, hey, I've got this fiberglass car and it's a bit like a boat. Would you mind giving me a hand? And, you know, out of the goodwill of his heart, he helped me line it up and fit it. And so it fits pretty well. But again, it was just kind of down to the good nature of people that he helped me. And
I guess there will always be those fitment issues. A little bit like with a Volkswagen and Safari windows. Absolutely look fantastic. Leak like a sieve.
Yeah. But it, you know, if it's raining outside, I'd rather get the sort of wet weather gear and go on the bike than this. Okay. Because you know, it's not really a great car in the wet, and because it's got wide tyres as well, it does tend to track a bit and be a bit a little bit slippery.
Originally the interior was red.
It was, yeah. So red, and it had high-sided seats and headrests and so on, and normal seat belts, and had a tiny little wheel and old gauges, a VDO, 2 big ones and 2 small ones in the middle. That just
we'll take a closer look at those gauges because they are another element of the car, which I really like those.
So a lot of this I had to kind of work out myself. So I had to drill into the dash and repaint it and fit the dials, but I even had to make these. They're actually off a VW seat adjuster.
Ah, okay.
And so they're just for an MP, and I bought a couple of those, and so tried to fabricate them so I could glue them on and make the switches. But again, through just contacts from my daughter's school. A woman is a shoemaker, but just lovely design, loves some really great stuff. So I went with her to the leather shop, sourced the leather, and then she pretty much bought some cheap seats off eBay.
She's done a really good job. Yeah,
and I just love that there's a story behind it as well. You know, she's done a fabulous job. Harnesses, yeah, and you know, for having the kids in the car, it's nice to have over the shoulder as well, not just a lap belt. And
they're not ornamental.
No, they're
functional.
Absolutely functional. They have to be to get through the kind of. You said at the start around trying to get them registered is really problematic. Replicas. Luckily, this was all done and engineered, and I've got the engineer certificate to make it much easier to get it registered. And to be honest, I think they're almost impossible to get registered now.
I wonder if they're a bit like the Myers Manx, where if you've had it registered previously in Australia, you're okay. But if you're trying to do one now, then that's a little bit of a problem because it's on a short and beetle pan, and you said it's about 10 inches kind of cut out the middle to fit the body and everything onto them.
Yeah, and all of that has to obviously be signed off and engineered properly, and same with the seat belts and a few other like the door handles. There's all these little nuances that I'm just really pleased I didn't have to go through the headaches.
And is it disc brakes, drum brakes?
So disc at the front, drum at the back.
Okay. Which is what we have on our 356 as well. I think with the size of the engine, that extra braking force is really helpful.
So it weighs around the sort of 650, 700 kilos, I think, and 100 horsepower. So power to weight, it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
And you and I were talking earlier. You know, when you've got a car like this, second gear is probably your favourite, and with the big Sebring exhaust. You know, it's got a nice little sound. It's not going to win any records, but it's everything that I need / can handle.
So here we go at the front. The actual weather's turned out to be quite nice in Melbourne today. It was raining when I first got out of bed. So you said original Beetle headlights.
Yeah.
Grills weren't really cut in, you said?
They hung. So these hung out really awkwardly. The grills weren't cut out. And a lot of people obviously drive them with running no bumpers.
Yep.
And I just don't like. I'm a big fan of having the bumpers on. I think it just gives it a bit more of a shape.
I've got to say, I appreciate some people like to keep them off, but I prefer them with bumpers.
Yeah,
that's my preference.
Yeah, I do. But like I say, it's the beauty of classic cars, right? People do their own touches, and I was telling you earlier, when I first showed the leather colour that I'd chosen to my best friend, they went, "Oh, yeah, I don't hate it," which is not
Thanks for that.
which is not what you want to reinforce you've made the right decision. But you know, it is it's their own personal preference.
So here we are, just taking some photos here. Look at that thing sat there. We zoom in a little bit. That black on that car is absolutely brilliant. It's amazing who you attract when you're out and about. So we're taking some pictures up here. And then this little beauty comes along. Look at that. We'll have a chat with the guys. See if we can get a few photos of us all together.
We bought it for $400.
400.
Paid $400 for it. He did it up, and the resto was pretty ordinary. He's back to bare metal.
Yeah.
See the bonnet's open. Yeah. Back to bare metal, and yeah. So, and that's its original colour.
We'll go take a closer look. So what colour's that? Is that?
Sahara beige.
Yeah. Okay. Because our convertible, I think it was white and then ivory on the inside.
Yeah.
But it got, somebody repainted it to silver at some point. It's a beautiful car.
And so it only took you a year to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
There's not a lot to them though, is there really?
Well, we had to do all the metal on it again, and you know, there was a bit of beating out underneath. It had a few little, you know, nipples here and there. But,
Yeah.
I was there every day. I went every day. It was around from where I worked, so I went in every day and made sure it's supposed to do it. So I could do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Keep on track.
But that's
Yeah.
full readiness.
Yeah.
Wiring, nervous system,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, really nice brakes.
Can I see the engine?
Yeah.
It's so clean.
It's clean, isn't it?
This was built up from the ground up. From the
Really lovely.
So he's a mechanic himself, so he sort of, but he's nearly 90. So when I found it was in an old garage that were, you know, dust and shit over it, and you know, it was really it needed a bit more love and attention.
Look at those. What a surprise to the morning. That's brilliant. 57. The replica wide body. And then our little baby sat in the background. Who'd have thought it today? But we hope you enjoyed that video. We're going to be catching up with Olly again in a few weeks' time. We've got a track day, and we're taking the 356 out, and Olly's taking his car out on track as well. So that should be really good fun. So stick around for that video. Please give this one a massive thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you again with a new video coming very soon. See you later, guys. Bye.